Good morning. My name is Rabbi Chaim Belyak. I'm the CEO emeritus of Friends of Jewish Renewal in Poland. Um, I retain a love and commitment to this series that we have uh, celebrated now some 50 presentations that present Jewish culture in Poland and the connection between them. Um, Much of this culture uh, lives on in Jews and Poles that live all over the world. Today, we're very privileged to have with us Isabella Wagner, and I'll tell you a little bit about her in a moment. Freighted Legacies was originally conceived as an opportunity for both Poles, Jewish Poles, people with Polish descent, to understand more about the history and the culture. We've enjoyed musical concerts, we've enjoyed lectures and book talks. Today, we are privileged to have with us a guest who has devoted her life to understanding the careers of intellectuals and the professional socialization that they undergo, both in Poland and in their migrations. And that has led her to many people that she's studied and reported about. Um, and in particular today, two works of that relate to the life of Zygmunt Bauman. I'll leave it to Dr. Wagner to explain the basic biography of Dr. Bauman. But in 2020, Dr. Wagner published a major biography, of which there are very generous passages that have been shared. And I read that book when it came out some 7 years ago, and I've been waiting for the opportunity to hear directly from Dr. Wagner. In 2023, the uh, work of Dr. Wagner continued with a reference to Zygmunt Bauman, when a collection of Bauman's writings about many subjects, many of them dealing also with Jewish identity and the Jewish situation, entitled My Life in Fragments, was published. And again, we have been gifted with important parts of that, but I recommend that you read both books because of Bauman's significance as a sociologist, as a person who has very important biography. We tried to capture it in the title of today's talk, Introduction to the Exilic Worlds of Zygmunt Bauman, Sociologist, Philosopher, and Skeptic. And now I'd like to turn to Dr. Bauman and welcome her to Freighted Legacies.
Thank you very much for your invitation, and thank you for having me today. And happy Mother's Day. I'm very pleased to have this moment in this special day with you. And I will start perhaps with some unexpected information that Zygmunt Bauman was in a very strong connection with his mother. He was only son. He has a sister. But it was the big love between him and his mother. Uh, Today I will speak to you about his life. He lived 91 years. And I started with the controversy because I was traveling, teaching in a different part of the world. I was surprised how different uh, image of Bauman, people, young students, but also, adults and my colleagues among sociological, philosophical, social scientists had different vision of Bauman. And I wonder before I start to work on him, but who is Zygmunt Bauman? That from one side in Western world, people said sociologist, philosopher, frequently culture theorist, and public intellectual, but he was like well known inside of social science community. In global south, it was a guru, especially after movement occupy in Southern America, in Mediterranean countries. He was like public intellectual and spiritual guide. He appeared in journals, television. He was very popular. Young people read his book. He sold in several countries over 38 language versions of several books. In Poland, however, his main visibility, his main image was Judeo-Bolshevik and communist evil and enemy of the state number one. And this tension between so different roles and perceptions um, provoked my curiosity, and I would like to learn and to know what is about this person to have this different images. And I started working on a book in order to understand, because um, as much as I looked for literature in English, in Polish, etc., no one published a biography of Zygmunt Bauman. And in the US, if you don't know who is Zygmunt Bauman, it is quite regular. This is probably geographical area where he is less known. Uh, I will go very quickly through this scientific definition. He has a page in Britannica, obviously, who they are saying that he is Polish-born sociologist. They are not saying that he was British citizen, that was starting from 80s. And he was well known, probably if we have to pick up one academic book, the most important was Modernity and the Holocaust, published in 1989. And he got a lot of prizes, scientific prizes, and large world recognition inside of the university world. However, after he had this period when he started to publish as a retired intellectual, and it was what we are calling a liquid period, when he became famous on a global level. And before the sociologist working on his legacy, they're saying it was Polish period, because before 68, when he worked in Poland, lived in Poland. After his exile, it was British period. But in between one and other, it was 3 years of Israeli period, 68, 71. So regarding theories, sociological theories, he is eclectic. We are saying postmodernist. He invented liquid modernity. Liquid was the adjective which was added in several of his books, with love, with liquid management, etc., etc. So it was a series of liquid. It was He published about ambivalence of modernity. He criticized modernity. He spoke about consumptionism, globalization, and capitalism in a very critical way. He was born in 1925 and he died in 2017. So today I will try to speak about his exile, not in singular exile, but he had 2 or 3 exiles himself. He spoke about 3 exiles. This is the content of table of content of my book biography of Zygmunt Bauman. I put in a yellow the part that you can read because I sent the large excerpt from this period, and I will develop those three exiles. But before, we are going to learning a little bit about his family. And here, this is his beautiful mother and father before he was born. Bauman was born in Poznań. This is the big city in western Poland. And what is very characteristic that his experience of this life, pre-war life, was very different from majority of Jewish community in Poland, because Poznań was characteristic by its very small Jewish community. His father was Maurycy Bauman, and Zygmunt was pleased to say that father was very bad clerk and very bad businessman, even if family believed that he's very smart because the love of his father was the books. He read different languages. He was intellectual without going to the university. His mother was Zofia Żywa Kohn, uh, Cohen, and her father, she was one of the large family who is from Włocławek. Włocławek was very specific city because enlightenment, Haskalah, was very, very important in Włocławek, and it was very good young people and especially also women. So her mother was not really a typical housewife. She was highly educated and she was in love with also reading. So, but Bauman was in his house in Poznań, in an area which was not Jewish district because mother experienced pogrom in 2000, in 1990 in Włocławek, and she promised to herself that in order to protect family, she needs to live among non-Jewish people. Maurycy, the father, committed suicide because of bankruptcy in 30s, but he was saved. Uh, However, Bauman frequently related to this experience. For him, it was also connection to the crisis, capitalist society, and this pressure of man who is obliged to earn the money to support his family. So cultural aspiration overpassed the financial situation of Bauman. In their house, he always said, "Oh, we don't had a political tradition." However, I found the evidences that family planned to go to Palestine before World War II, but they had not enough money or connections, at least possibilities. They only managed to send in 38 their older sister. So sister of Bauman lived in Palestine since 1938. He experienced a lot of discriminations, and in the both books you can find the long testimonies by Bauman, and he is using beautiful language, and you can really experience also this fear and the discrimination, which is provoking the sense of being second-rate person. In a primary school, he was only Jew. In a secondary school, it was different type of discrimination. So here I will introduce you very important concept. Identity, you know the concept of identity because it's very popular outside sociological world. But master status, it was the concept of Eric Hughes from Chicago tradition, sociological Chicago tradition. And Hughes explained that you could have your identity, but when you are outside, people can see you as someone who is who is not compatible even with your identity. And it is the problem of discriminated population that frequently they are perceived through this stigmatized identity, which is master status, which is dominant identity, how people perceive you. And here you can see that uh, all I analyze whole life of Bauman through these two concepts, how he considered himself, what was his identity, perfectly combined Jewish Pole, Polish Jew at equal way mixed, and how he was perceived in Poland the most often as a Jew. His Polishness was never or rarely acknowledged. Life in a fear. Here you can see the picture. This is the mother and son just before World War II in Poznan. And he explained that even his mother, she was very positive, very warm and very energetic and very entrepreneurial, but she was afraid of anti-Semitic hooligans and people who discriminated them even physically on the street in Poznan. So Bauman is speaking a lot about the humiliation because father committed suicide, and humiliation. Do you hear me? Sorry, because okay,
Yes, we can hear
no.
you very well.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. And humiliation because of all this discrimination. He couldn't go to the sport. He couldn't go outside. This dog is not their dog. It was borrowed for the picture. Bauman dreamed about a dog, but having a dog, it was difficult because you need to go out with the dog. And it is dangerous when you're going out. He was also discriminated at school. Why? Because the grades were not good enough. He was excellent, but he was considered as a Jew, so he couldn't get the first place in his school. And also, he experienced what we call ghetto bench, means that it was a separate place for Jewish students. That was in his secondary school. And his only space when he felt equal and free, it was Hashomer Hatzair. So if someone will tell you that Bauman was not Zionist, etc., it is not true. In his very early years, he was absolutely engaged in an idea of living in Palestine and having this excellent life in among other people like him, building a just society. Here in this meetings of Hashomer Hatzair in Poznan, he recovered his dignity. And he said there were only in this community twice or three times per week when he felt really human. 39, as you know, the beginning of the World War II, Poznan was attacked very quickly, and the family managed to escape to Włocławek, first of all. Father argued that they had to go to the countryside to be hidden in the place where the family of fathers was, but Bauman explained in his testimony that he pushed parents to go farther in toward eastern part. So here about refugee, he is a young refugee. This is the first time, but he was 14 years old, and he's taking kind of initiative for pushing his parents to act to escape, because he, even if they escaped in November, he already experienced yellow patch stigmatization of being designed as a Jew and persecuted. Also, in both books, you have the long excerpt about these persecutions. But he experienced hunger, exhaustion, incertitude, otherness, adaptation, but also in Belarus, because they stopped to June 1941 in Belarus. There, he started his adaptation to the new school, to the new life, to the life of a refugee. So the family was with him, and that was really their chance, because father and mother, they survived and they were together to the moment when he was mobilized and he joined the army. So this is exceptional. And after, he managed to bring the parents back. So this exile provoked trauma, but Toby Nathan is saying that when a child experiences this kind of trauma, it could be healed. However, if the exile is repeated, it will be very difficult to heal this second exile and second trauma. In 41 to 45, the family, when I'm saying Bauman and his family, they were crossed from Mowadechna in Belarus to Gorky Oblast in Russia, Soviet Union at that time. He was quickly in Moscow. He was after trained as a soldier and political officer in Sumy in Ukraine today. And then he passed with Red Army to Warsaw. He was injured in Battle of Kołobrzeg in the Pomeranian region, and he was almost liberated Berlin, but he was injured, so he was on late for the liberation. When he's speaking about his experience of refugee child or teenager, he's speaking about becoming normal in that school. He's describing very international environment, because there were the Belarusian, Russian, Polish, and Yiddish language children, etc., etc. But he's speaking also about his involvement in Komsomol when he became a young communist. And for him, it was just the passage from Hashomer Hatzair, leftist Scotism, Zionist Scotism, into Komsomol engagement. For him, it was again the idea that we are all equal and there is no more discrimination and antisemitism. Then he's speaking about Polish engagement and intoxication. Here you have the picture of the journal, which was sent massively into Polish refugees in Soviet Union. Those who were not able to go out with army, Anders army, and as you know probably from literature, they in huge majority they refuse to accept Jewish Poles in this army. So it was Red Army that organized the Polish unit, Polish army inside of Red Army, and he was trained and he was a very gifted propaganda teacher in a sense that he believed that it is the future of Poland, because they were being not at all the place for anti-Semitism. So he was part of this Polish division in Soviet army. Here I recommend you, if you don't know, very interesting book by Nussbaum about this Polish army, and he's speaking a lot about the ambience that was, and he explained very well why Jewish soldiers, Polish Jewish soldiers, were so welcome and felt so well in those units. Uh, Here you have the picture of young Bauman. So, as he said, during this first exile, he lost his weight and he became very slim, and he was slim the whole his life. He was very tall also. So he became this internal security corps soldier, because in 1945 his unit was immediately quite automatically transformed in this unit. What was this famous unit? They had to protect the property of the state, the train networks and the institutions, the factories, etc. that Germans left, and they protected the state property because it was already implementation, progressive implementation of what they called socialist state. He was political officer and he was a very fast career. He was always, except 2 months, and I'm describing it in detail, when he was in the forest fighting against underground Polish pre-war origin, connected to the pre-war government army, mainly AK, but not only. I'm explaining how these underground units were anti-Semitic, and they were also, it was home war, and they were in a charge frequently on the killing Jewish population and Jewish survivors. So it is not black and white history and black and white situation. We need to take into consideration what last years we have a lot of very excellent literature, academic literature with the deep studies about this phenomenon. In this unit, he confirmed his fate, and he saw as majority of his uh, Polish Jew who escaped and survived in Soviet Union. They saw that there is no more in Poland discrimination as it was previously. They were able to get the good positions and to have a decent life. No more second-rate citizen. Here you have Bauman with his wife, Janina, who I'm sure you know, at least her Winter in the Morning, excellent book about her experience of young girl in a ghetto of Warsaw. And they married in 47, and it was kind of mésalliance. She was daughter of the very important medical family in Warsaw. So he always said that if it was not the war and communism after, we could never marry together. And he had from this, belief in no discrimination for Jewish populations, however, was short, because in 53 his father visited Israeli embassy in Warsaw asking for Aliyah, and Bauman was kicked out almost immediately from this internal corp unit, and he joined university. It was a little bit more complex, but if you wish to know details, I invite you to, you have the excerpt so you can learn about it. He was amazing career, academic career, very fast PhD. He was on the postdoc, what we call today postdoc, at London School of Economics, working with very famous people. He traveled a lot. He was also visiting United States, for example, in early 60s, 61. And he was very active, and he had also in 56 something that we don't recall very often, because it is not compatible with this black legend of the communist, permanent communist. In 56, when it was October Tau, he was among very active also revisionist, and he never retracted his revisionist opinion. He was heavy critic of party bureaucracy. In 68, probably some of you can recognize this. On the left, it was the document. He was declared Zionist for the involvement in the students and also professors movement against this party dictatorship. And in 68, he became stateless. As you know, in 68, people who would like to live with the family, they should drop the Polish nationality. I was able, based on, he was very much spied on by Bezpieka, by Polish Secret Services. So I reconstructed this process detail by detail. in a book. And it is fascinating. I can promise you that we were able to see when he had the dinner in the restaurant with friends or with his wife, etc. What he, he gave the talk to students, what was the subject of the talks, etc. So it is fascinating, this archive of former secret services. So he became again a refugee as an adult. He became again a stigmatized Jew. So this fate of the master status, Hegelian concept, is here very powerful. He was discriminated at work because he was kicked out from the work. I put here 65 because it was not only 68 that he started to have problem. It came in 65 already that he became a problematic figure. He was also, there is also a part of jealousy. He was very brilliant. He was excellent. And in my opinion, in academic environment, local Warsaw academic environment was not at all happy. Everyone was not happy with this amazing career. He his wife and children experienced also heavy antisemitism at work and at school. So they decided early in the spring in 68, go to Israel, especially because they had also her whole family was already in Israel for several years, and his sister was in Israel. So again, he experienced the same feeling, perhaps not for himself, and it was not the bomb, but it was because of the spies, because of the hate speeches, because of hate campaign in radio, in the press, even in television. He was afraid that the family will be allowed to go out, but not him. So they experienced also provisory situation. I put here Sukkot, that we have to be always prepared for this kind of provisory situation. And also, he was obliged to adapt himself very quickly to the new situation. However, again, here, he was lucky. He was not alone. He was able to protect his wife and his three children. And the family together was able to rebuild their life in Israel shortly. Here you see the document of requesting the dropping the citizenship for his children. It was one-way ticket. He became number one on this list, undesirable people index. That means that when he left, he was sure that he will never be back to Poland. He was forbidden to go to the Eastern European country, and for example, he missed the conferences. He was censorship. That means that his books, everything that he published, was forbidden to cite, but also taken from the libraries, from the bookshop. Nobody could rely on what he did already in sociology, and it was the non-existent. He was condemned to non-existent. Here, this is the excerpt from his book when he's saying that exile robs the refugee of identity, and those robs them of trust, and those also of the faith that what one had acknowledged as true is true. And because of this faith serves as a protective shield for the knowledge of what constitutes truth and what does not, then sooner or later, exile will strip the refugee even of knowledge. And this deep understanding, I am strongly convinced that he took from this double experience of exile as a teenager, young teenager, and in extreme war conditions, and also when in 68 he's repeating again this situation is back. Here I'm recommending you Wasted Life, his book about exactly this. Homecoming is the situation when he's back suddenly in 68. So he was among one of the first to be back because he was invited by Mokrzycki and other sociologists of Polish Academy of Science. But the relationship with the University of Warsaw was very difficult. Several years there were the negotiation that this university and also Minister of the Culture of the Higher Education apologized for the eviction, and it was very sad controversy because some people were apologized, like Kołakowski, another dissident intellectual, very famous, and not Bauman. So it was again the situation of discrimination. In 2006, the people who recognize highly his work would like to offer him the honorary doctorate, honoris causa, at Warsaw University. It is not exactly honoris causa because he had his PhD at the same institution. And the process was launched and the process was stopped. And I was into the um, informal, even communication that shows us how deeply anti-Semitism and confirmation of this his participation in those communist units played a role. Like suddenly, everyone learned about his past, which is completely untrue. Because in the 50s, he came at the university with his military costume. So it was a lot of elements of this black legend are still alive, even at the university, where we have to checking and going, finding the evidences, as I did. Here you have this bulletin in 2006 when the historians who were working at the IPNN, Institute of National Remembrance, published just a part of these files proving that Bauman was a spy. But everyone who was involved in this kind of army, in this type of unit, was in this very close connection to the spying. But when you are digging really in the documents, you see that his spying work was not really efficient. So, Third Exile is Bauman's uh, himself called it. When he came in 1988, it was even a moment that he and his wife thought that they will move back to Warsaw. I'm sorry. But they were at that time already from 71 in Leeds, where he was director of the department and he was a very famous sociologist. So it was difficult. He came from time to time. But progressively, his visits provoke a lot of manifestation of extreme right, far right, neo-Nazi young people. And it came to the situation that they blocked his public speeches. The picture here is not, however, from Poland. It is from Florence. It is one of it is his last speech when the hall was completely full. He was really, it is exceptional for a public intellectual to get this large audience. In Italy, he was very famous and he is still. However, in Poland, the last visit was took place in 2013 when in Wrocław it was a huge scandal with these extreme right people. It was even dangerous. They came to the university, manifested, and he was completely shocked. After he published his last book, Retrotopia, which was published in 2017, was just inspired by these events. And it was the year when Bauman, I interviewed him 3 months after, and he decided to never be back to Poland. And he wrote to people who were his friends that he felt really first time expelled from his country. This is the last slide. For me, it is also kind of post-mortem exile because I'm sorry, he you see the picture which was part of the exposition of famous intellectual who did the global careers, and you see on a graffiti on the top saying that he is the killer, morderca. And they, those opponents, they're saying he was the mayor, UB, mayor of the Bezpieka, of the secret services, etc. So it is a huge hostility, very popular. And it is like mm, what he did, what he explained, or what other people explained on his life, it was completely not important regarding his master status. So it very beautiful conclusion you have with my colleague Jakub Majmurek, who explained that he's really perfect example of this ideal type Judeo-Bolshevik, even if when you're learning about his life, you realize that it is completely different story. I would like to thank you for the invitation, and I would like to say that I appreciate a lot the motto of your community. We learn history not in order to know how to behave or how to succeed, but to know who we are. It is a beautiful quote. Many thanks to Rabbi Chaim Dobbeliak for the invitation and our exchange and talk just before. And also, I would like to thank organizers and translator Dominika Zakrzewska, Marek Jeżowski, Marzena Szymańska, and Jonathan Cohen. Thank you very much for your attention. And I am all yours for responding to your question. Just last explanation, perhaps this is Collegium Civitas, last place in Warsaw where Bauman gave some courses in 2011, 2012. Thank you very much. And I am stopping here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Isabella. We're going to give a moment for people to begin sharing questions. I know that uh, for someone who's been immersed in his life for so long, there's a, a very significant um, investment of your time and effort. And I'm so appreciative of your um, presenting us with these two books. Um, are you continuing to work in areas of uh, Bauman's life, or have you gone on to other projects?
Thank you very much for this question. I am asked for developing some parts. For example, this year I will publish more about his year in Israel, his years, 2 years and a half in Israel, or I will publish also about his reception in France. However, I consider this book, the biggest book biography. I don't know if it is, you can see it. This is the one colleague said that this is micro history and micro history and micro sociology of antisemitism. So I work still in this area, but my hero now, today, it is Dr. Alina Margolis Edelman, who was not sociologist, who was physician. So I'm still in this history, 20th century, exiled Jewish people born in Poland. She was born in 22, so 3 years older than Marek. This is not the same story because this is not Poznań, this is Łódź, but this is Jewish life. This time it is a woman, and after 68, 3 years later, in 71, she left for Paris. So, but this is
Yes,
the life in exile still.
my first day 15 years ago, 16 years ago, in Poland was attending the funeral of Mark Edelman, and his wife came from Paris to attend as well. And I hope that we will, at some point, uh, have an opportunity to hear about Edelman, but more importantly, his wife, who is sometimes overshadowed, as Janina Bauman was sometimes, I think, overshadowed by
Yes.
Zygmunt Bauman's popularity. And I do recommend the the biography, and I have to remember very importantly the opening of Modernity and the Holocaust, where he describes his uh, reading the book, his wife's biography, and coming to understand that a very big part of the Holocaust had not been comprehended by him because of the where he'd been physically, and that his wife's uh, sharing with him was so important.
Absolutely. But Janina was covered partially by Bauman fame, but he did
What
a
was
lot of, yeah, he did a lot for making her visible also. So it was, he really participated in visibility of his wife.
right? Um, so, I wonder if there's some questions that have come in um, uh, from people. One of the things that I thought was very um, interesting is that they shared an email when you wrote to Janina, you wrote to Bauman and vice versa. And I was very moved by your description of the connection and intimacy that they shared in the work that he did and the seriousness with which he engaged with her. She was definitely more than just uh, a wife. She was a part of the world that he created in his work.
Absolutely. She was his collaborator. She was his first reading person. She fixed sometime his text also. So, and she discussed with him constantly. She was really his, not sister soul, partner soul. And they lived together 61 years. So it was fusion between them. Yes, at several levels.
I think many people will be interested in learning about his years in Israel. But because of his wife's family, there was always a connection to people living in Israel. Um,
Not only his wife's family, his wife's family,
but
all
his
people here.
sister,
Yes, his sister who left in 38. She was in kibbutz. She was after teacher in kibbutz. And when Bauman's family came to Israel in 68 in June, two younger daughters, they were teenagers at that time, they stayed with auntie in kibbutz for learning faster Hebrew, while Bauman with his wife, Janina, they went to Jerusalem for Uplan, also the older daughter, because it was idea that she will be inscribed at the university. She was a mathematics student, etc., etc. So they needed to go quickly to learn quickly Hebrew. But the daughters, they were just it was the idea, very good idea actually, for learning even faster inside of the community already. So they spent two girls spent first year learning actually uh, with a teacher, Jewish teacher from Soviet Union. And girls, they learn at school in Poland, it was Russian at school, obligatory. So they learn Hebrew via Russian.
wow, okay,
But the kids,
wonderful,
they are doing very well in general.
good. Um, so, looking here to um, invite people who have a question. I know that Bauman was among the people that was also very critical at a certain point of certain policies of various governments. Um, is it foreshadowing too much for you to talk a little bit about that?
No, I think that depends. I think that he was always, we can say, lefty. He's saying that I was when I was young, I was communist. After I became socialist, and I assumed this. And when he came to Israel, he supported binational state. It was
Binational.
not binational, sorry, yes, binational, not double state, but binational state. And he was very close to this party of workers, mixed Arab and Jewish workers. And after 69, uh, he saw that it was much more complicated, but on the beginning, the family really thought that they will stay. It was not like after he said, or it is, oh no, we couldn't stay there, etc. Like some people, Area 68, a lot of people left Israel. Also, because of the war situation, they were not used to it. And I think that Bauman never spoke about it openly, but he had two younger daughters and they could go to the army just very quickly after. And they were also afraid about the level of education for young people, etc., etc. I think that the family started to live a different life, and it was not the same life as in Warsaw. And he
Yeah,
realized also, I think that in departure from Israel, in a huge part, he never said openly this, but huge his friends in Israel told me in the interview that they were no place for him intellectually, because in sociology, Shmuel Eisenstadt was a big figure, and they
right.
represented completely different theoretical approach to sociological questions. They had not the same questions, not the same methods, not the same work. So there is not, Israel was small place. There is not place for two kings, in a sociology.
I
So
have to say that I had my first lectures with Eisenstadt in sociology. So, yes, it was a different world, and was more statistically um,
yes, it
connected
was, yes,
quantitative methods. Though Bauman wrote in quantitative methods in his Polish period. Um,
exactly. He knew
yeah,
this. It is not the question of, I don't know, I'm not good in mathematics. He was student in physics in the first year in Gorky. So he was very smart. He could do this. But it is not his choice. It was not his idea. And I deeply believe that he lost his faith that sociology could really engineer the society. He lost it with Polish experience. And in Israel at that time, sociology served the state, served
right.
society and the state for projection, for planning, etc. It is something that he saw badly done in Poland. So he couldn't be
Yeah.
engaged or believe in that. He saw that it is not working. But in Israel,
I,
it worked.
I want to connect to uh, the mention that you, very important mention that you gave, that he found his dignity in the opportunities pre-World War II as a young person in the Shomer HaTzair world. And that is a world that is not very well understood by American audiences. It had a very strong um, discipline and moral code with a great optimism about the kind of person people could become. There was um, a real effort to develop honor codes and conduct that was quite unusually uh, evocative of what I would call a secular religion, with a very serious commitment to bettering the world.
Yes, you are absolutely right, and we can see that Bauman was not from very religious family. He had his bar mitzvah. He was perhaps sometimes in a attended synagogue, but his father was. They were not really deeply practicing. And here, with all this discrimination, you need to have some structure and some place in a society and in a life. And here, Hashomer Hatzair, what was in Poland at that time, as you said, it was secular religion, but because of the projection of the model of Palestine, I have this my colleague from California, Davis University, David Cale, is speaking about cognitive migration. And for them, Hashomer Hatzair in Poznan, it was already cognitive migration. They learn Hebrew, they learn how to, they projected themselves already in Palestine, in their country, etc. So it was like really scouting preparation for we are going there. And during the time here, we are organizing our life for being better prepared and for enjoying their life also. They were teenagers, they danced, they organized the excursion outside of, Poznan, and they were in a group, so they couldn't be really persecuted in that situation. They were, this is why I'm saying that it was his first spaces of freedom and dignity.
Thank you. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to thank you, and I'm looking forward to inviting you back already. Um, and
Thank
we
you.
appreciate very much your generous sharing. There's so much material that you shared with us today, and also from your work, and recommend to people Bauman of a biography and fragments of a life uh, to learn
Thank
more
you.
about this figure. Uh, I want to just turn to the fact that Freighted Legacies is going to be presenting quite a bit about people who have had distinguished careers in many fields, um, and have their origins in Poland. Of course, to many Poles, these will be people that are um, uh, well known, but also people that are known both in Poland and in the U.S. Uh, Heschel, Abraham Joshua Heschel, and also Zeitlin, um, uh, Hillel Zeitlin, who were important spiritual leaders in the
Mm,
interwar period. So please look forward to joining us for further freighted legacies. Our next meeting will be um, in on June 14th, and it is going to be a unique um, opportunity for us to talk about one little town, a town by the name of Olkush. And I'm going to ask Dominika if she could please share a picture that I know people um, um, have seen many times. Um, This is a iconic picture of the Holocaust. The rabbi standing in front was living in the same building as my mother in the town of Olkush. This takes place um, in the town square, and as you can see, the Nazi soldiers um, with their smiles and their um, humiliation. This is called in history Bloody Wednesday. And you see at Hagerman's foot, he's barefoot, the people laying face down, the men laying face down, Jews and Poles together. Um, and this picture has become an iconic picture that we'll be talking about, as well as we'll be um, previewing an 800-page work that was done um, by a resident from uh, Olkush, Catholic man, uh, that gives a description of each family, street by street, with many pictures, many references, that is now being translated from Polish, where it is about 800 pages. In the English version, it'll be about 900 pages. So our meeting on June 14th will be on the day in which the Jews of Olkush were sent to Auschwitz, but it will also allow us to meet some of the current residents of Olkush who have preserved the memory of Jewish life, uh, and we look forward to uh, introducing you to them and also to the historian who is teaching at Bar Ilan University and wrote about Rabbi Hagerman, whose picture you see here. And we think that this will be an opportunity for people to actually um, make some connections. I don't mind telling people that I've already made, using the Polish version, connections to family that I didn't even know. I want to conclude again with thanking uh, Dr. Wagner. Want to
Thank you
thank
very much.
our Master of Ceremonies, Dominika, who's put this together, our interpreters, Marek Yuzowski, Marzena Szymanska. These programs, Freighted Legacies, um, are supported by your interest and your effort, and I want to invite your participation to go to uh, JewishRenewalInPoland.org and make a contribution to support our work. Um, so I wish everyone also Happy Mother's Day, um, which is being celebrated in Italy. You're in Sardinia, uh,
Yes.
so Mother's Day is being celebrated today um, in several places in the world and in the U.S. Warm regards and a good day to all.
Thank you very much.